G'day cocktail lovers. I've been doing a bit of cleaning up and organising around the house and in this bar specifically in the recent weeks, and one of the aspects of that was led to going into the garage, or as the French call it, the car hole, and finding a box of homemade wines that my other half made back in the 90s. So these have been sitting patiently for 3 decades waiting to be tasted, and I decided I was going to do it. She also has some really nice mead in there, which I'll bring into another cocktail recipe in the future. But these are the first 2 wines I started with. This one is based around beetroot, or beets, as America's saying, and this is with the herb lemon verbena. And as her labels tend to say, okay, this is the herb lemon verbena used in a strong wine. Now, she isn't mucking about when she says it's a strong wine. She had all proper winemaking kit, but she fermented her own wine. This is not a bottle of wine bought from a store and having a flavour infused to it. She started from scratch. With this case, it's like lemon verbena, and that with beet, and then things with sugar, grapes and banana, and possibly some other herbs as well, and some wine yeast in there, and let it ferment. Why we specify a strong wine is because in the winemaking industry, usually they let it ferment to a level they want the alcohol content, and then they add something to kill the yeast. Mrs. Angry doesn't do that. She just lets it keep going until the alcohol content is so high that kills the yeast. So this is probably along the strength of fortified wines. It's also interesting taste-wise. I did some comparisons like, where is this going to sit? And I compared it to sweet vermouth and to sherries, and it's kind of between sherry and sweet vermouth, possibly leaning a bit more towards the sherry side in terms of flavour, but it's very flavourful. And I thought, well, it's kind of, you know, in that wine, aromatized fortified wine area. I'm going to see how they go in Manhattans. Besides being very interesting wines, I love the labels. They're absolutely awesome. And there's a description on the back. It's going, the wine, being strong, but in no way dangerous, must be used gently or there will be some regret. This was made under the dominion of Saturn. It has the magical powers of love, the healing virtues. It cureth the toothache, purgeth the head, stays the bloody flux. And then it just lists it's got beetroot, banana, lemon, ginger, cloves, sugar, and yeast. The lemon verbena is slightly different. This was under the dominion of Mercury, and its magical power is also love, but its healing virtues eases painful and windy swellings. Very profitable to the stomach. Lemon verbena, lemon, grape, sugar, and yeast. So we've got these strong homemade wines in that sort of aromatized fortified wine area. I'm going to make a Manhattan with both of them. I'm going to use rye whiskey, just one I have. This is a California rye whiskey. It's a little bit stronger than average, 48.5% ABV. It's a 6-year-old rye. Should have a good bit of flavour in it. I'm going to make 2 half-size Manhattans because I don't want to get totally wasted, but I'll show you how to make a half-size one. In a mixing glass, I'm putting 1 ounce or 30 mils of the rye whiskey, then half an ounce or 15 mils of the homemade wine, then just 1 dash of aromatic bitters. Adding ice to the glass, stirring that for 20 seconds to chill and dilute the drink, and I'm straining that into a mini coupette and garnishing with a maraschino cherry on a skewer. I of course did that twice to get 2 mini Manhattans. If I was just making one, it would be, you know, pretty straightforward Manhattan recipe with 2 ounces of the whiskey and 1 ounce of the wine. But I'm going to see, A, are they notably different? B, which one I prefer? And C, do I think it actually measures up against like a store-bought sweet vermouth or even a sherry as a martini variation? First, this is the beetroot wine one. Ooh, it's quite nice. It makes a drier Manhattan than it would if it's sweet vermouth. So if you ever had a Manhattan with sweet vermouth and thought it was too sweet, this might be to your appeal. But now I'm going to try the lemon verbena one. It does have a sharper lemony taste. It makes for an interesting variation on a Manhattan, but I think if I'm only going to have one of these in future, I wouldn't do it with the beetroot wine. It's drier than a sweet vermouth, certainly. It's probably not as dry as a dry vermouth. In fact, I did compare it now, I think. I compared it to my dry vermouth, which is much drier than this. So it's got a bit of body. Like I said, it's probably closer to a sherry than a sweet vermouth, but it makes for a very interesting drink. And I have heaps of room to experiment with these wines because there is actually a couple of boxes of different types of wines in there. So woohoo! Experiments in the next year or so of my life, I guess. But I'm going to sit down and enjoy my mini Manhattans enhanced with homemade wines. So hey, surely you know someone, if you're not making your own wine, there's bound to be someone you know, one of your neighbours who experiments with home winemaking. It's all over the place, but it's a good example of how you can play with a Manhattan template. Classically, it's whiskey and sweet vermouth, but you can swap in other aromatized wines or fortified wines just to get something different because, you know, variety is the spice of life. And I'm going to enjoy this variety. I hope you're enjoying yourself wherever you are, and I hope to see you again soon. Until I do, look at me, double fisting bullshit happening again. I will say cheers.